I got into heavy metal because of the music, I think, really connected with me. A lot of energy, musicianship is very strong.
The way that heavy metal music seems to encompass so many things. You've got your angry stuff, you've got your symphonic stuff, your ballads.
It's about being sort of true to yourself, true to who you want to be, and not following trends, following your heart.
Well, the main reason I got into heavy metal, I suppose, was because of this, the guitar.
But I think initially it was the guitar sound that grabbed me, and I started off as a guitar player. I still play guitar, but and then later on I got into the vocals a bit further on down the track and the whole thing.
Heavy metal seemed to be the way for me, being an angry teenager, and just the feel of the music. I don't think there's anything else, any other form of music that can get so many emotions across from your, whether it be depression or aggression, through to great ballads,
The other music that my friends try to get me into just doesn't have that same sort of appeal for me. It just doesn't sort of get the adrenaline pumping like heavy metal turned up loud.
The first concert I ever went to when I was a kid was Kiss, and I think I was 6. I went with my dad, and I saw a guitar fly through the air and explode, and I thought, now that's something I really want to do. And it took me a long time, and I hassled my parents and I hassled them, and they wouldn't buy me a guitar. So I busted my ass for a couple of years and saved up some money. I went out and bought this crappy electric guitar and just started to bash away in my bedroom.
Black Steel was actually formed in, I think, late 1999. There was myself, Dave, Jamie. We played in a cover band called Black and Blue with a drummer called Jeff Oliver. It was exciting to us hearing bands like Hammerfall and Stradivarius from Europe exploding all over the power metal scene, and that was really, I think, the catalyst that encouraged us to go forth and take on a project like Black Steel. I think it was inevitable, really, especially when Dave joined the band. He weaved his metal web, and off we went.
When I joined the band, I started writing melodic kind of, I suppose, neoclassical heavy metal or power metal, basically progressed from there, and Black Steel's kind of gone from strength to strength.
Ravens'head was started about 2 years ago, and started writing some tunes. Got the singer Rachel in, would have been July, I suppose, and at the beginning of 2001 started recording the songs for From the Darkness, which grew into a CD, a full-length CD. It was originally just supposed to be getting some ideas on tape and seeing how things panned out, but it grew into a monster, and we're quite happy with the monster that it grew into.
It's very difficult to fight the stigma of having a female front person in this music industry because it's so dominated by males, but it's not necessarily a bad thing. There's a scope there where it's not the norm, and because it's not the norm, you've got something that's a little different to everybody else. And Rachel if you've ever seen a live performance or if you manage to get hold of the disc, has incredible power.
We actually went to the studio and recorded our first EP, which is Battle Call.
Battle Call was actually released as an EP, and the whole thing with Battle Call, it was Damien, the drummer, had only been in the band about, I think, a bit over a week.
Damien had only, I think, we'd done 2 rehearsals with the band, and we recorded that one and put it out, and it's gone through the roof. It's done really well, and sort of realising there was a market for people who liked this kind of music, heavy metal, true traditional power sort of heavy metal music with uplifting lyrics, double kick drums, big choruses, and a lot of anthemic elements to the music, lots of melodic guitar, harmony vocals, sort of metal music in the true sense of the word, undiluted metal, real true metal from the heart, basically what we wanted to do. So not compromising in any way, not selling out to whatever's currently popular.
I think the reason that heavy metal or heavy rock is still relevant today is that a lot of it is about emotion and expressing emotions and expressing things that are real to real people. I don't mind a bit of doof-doof as much as the next person, but the reality is, to me, a lot of dance music's about, well, let's take a couple of eckies and go to a club and get off our heads and just jump around. To me, dance music is about, it's a single person thing. It's like, you might be there with 1,000 other people jumping around having a great time, but it's really mainly about you. Whereas if you go to a concert, it's a live situation. There are real people up on the stage playing instruments and putting their emotions into those instruments, and it comes through in the music, and people react to that. One guy spinning discs just doesn't have the power of 5 or 6 people on stage playing at 120 decibels. I mean, it just doesn't compare.
Most of the R&B stuff, all the pop stuff you're hearing on the radio, it's all about, it's about how many girls which they met that night and what they did there with them, or their different body anatomy bits, or stuff like that. And dance music doesn't really make any sense. It's to myself, it's very repetitive. I mean, it's all good to have like drum and bass and stuff like that, but it doesn't really go anywhere. It doesn't, I find it doesn't have any messages there for me.
I mean, I'm not a great lover of dance and all of that sort of stuff, but you just sort of notice the DJ's usually stuck in a box a mile away, and generally you don't sort of get much interaction, whereas when you're on stage and your audience is 2 feet away, you're constantly getting an energy flow back, you're giving it out, and hopefully most of the time you're getting it back if you've got the right sort of punters there.
Metal is often misunderstood. It gets a lot of bad press with all the stories about people committing suicide and whatever else, and I think sadly there's probably a lot of people that are going to go out and do something like that regardless of whether they're exposed to a certain type of art form. And in terms of being an art form, I think metal, because it's got such a wide range of emotions there, and I think people don't realise that because to be an art form, it doesn't have to be melodic, it doesn't have to be nice, it can be dark and nice and everything in between. And I think a lot of people look at certain album covers, whether they're Ozzy Osbourne or whatever, and don't really get into reading the lyrics there and it's completely misunderstood. They're not reading between the lines at all.
I mean, a lot of people take the image of metal and sort of don't look below the surface and you know, really finding out what it's all about. A lot of the themes of metal, like this kind of real metal, true metal, or whatever you want to call it, can deal with fantasy-based elements of horror, science fiction, stuff like that. It can be like escapism from the everyday life, and which can be good. And a lot of people might just see that at face value and not realise, you know, find the underlying meaning into it or the actual entertainment of it. A lot of the fantasy-based music I see is no different from going to see a big blockbuster Hollywood film or something.
With the whole heavy metal thing, in terms of me getting into heavy metal, listening to it and playing it, it was always kind of cool, because in high school that was a time when people were really going mainstream. It was always good to be a bit different with musical tastes, and definitely with what I was playing. I never had any opposition or funny looks from family or friends. I guess it's something I've always done, and people just accepted it. I think the only thing that they found hard to reconcile was a different persona on stage. A lot of people found it hard to reconcile the fact that that was me up there, because I guess like anyone, when they go on stage, they're completely different.
The reason I think that metal stayed around for this long is that it's not really a fashion trend. Like a lot of music these days, a lot of it's got to do with fashion, and metal's got nothing to do with that whatsoever.
I actually think the reason heavy metal's lasted so long is because I think it's part of the whole organic rock and roll thing. I think as long as there's people that have got are responsive to passion, have got I guess it's that teenage type of frustration thing. As long as there's those people in the world, I think that there'll always be a place for heavy metal. It's generally non-disposable.
I think with this kind of style of metal, has an uplifting kind of emotion to it, which I find is very positive, and it makes the listener feel good about themselves. It's not like downer music, like a venting frustration, feeling down. It sort of lifts you up. It makes you deal with life. Everyone has problems every day when they get up in the morning, whatever, has daily battles to face, or whatever they are. Maybe it's your boss that's pissing you off, or it's getting stuck in the traffic, or it's paying bills, or whatever. But I think metal is what we write about, is dealing with adversity and strength.
In a lot of ways, that type of music can be therapeutic in an ongoing sense.